All right, everyone, welcome to our next book club. I'm so excited to see you all here. We're officially doing Sisterwitches Book 3. Record has been hit. We are here. I'm so excited. We did an earlier version of this with Coffee with Katie, so I'm excited. There's only a couple of us there that are here tonight, so I'm excited to hear all the answers to all the good questions. Again, as always, there will be spoilers tonight. There's almost always someone that comes to the call and hasn't read it and doesn't want it spoiled. So I'm telling you in advance, we'll be talking about all the Sister Witches books,
Really?
3, and there will be spoilers involved. So there you go. If you're watching this later, spoilers are involved. All right, first things first. Let's start with who has something they have to say about this book. Andy, I knew it.
I have a couple.
I got a list.
I know. All
Yes,
right.
I have a
Andy,
list.
let's just start with you.
Okay, first, the whole, it was very short, the Bailey stuff, and then she goes and she's very annoyed about the protectors, and I'm like, this is interesting. She's very paranoid about Noah, mentioning him too much. In Spanish, there's a saying, el que la pera pela, comerse la quiere, the one that's like peeling the pear.
Uh-huh.
Peel is like talking too much about it, wants to eat it. So I'm like, this is gonna go somewhere.
Bailey
And then when,
to
oh yeah, for sure. And then when it all ended, I was like, that's it. Come on, a little bit more. Ooh, this story I have to ask for. And then at the end, I get the story like,
I always got you, Andy.
I just loved
always
it.
got
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and add. I mean, I love the short stories, like number 2 and number 3, because you would get a kind of a smaller character, and then we get to see their perspective, and it kind of really enriches the novel.
Oh,
So I
good.
love both of the short stories.
But now what I do need is Noah's perspective. You know, I know she wants to eat him, and we can see that he's got, ooh, hello.
That pear.
But still, I would love to hear how he. I mean, I'm betting that he took her in first, like, she's because he was a protector, and then how it all evolved into having respect for her and the way she does things, and being able to literally put his life in her hands.
Yeah. I think it would be a really fun series, like we've done with Merrick and Bianca for readers' requests, to do Noah and Bailey, because I'm doing the second draft of book 6 right now, and I haven't really done anything with Noah and Bailey. And it keeps like haunting me. Well, there's like one little thing, but I keep being like, what am I gonna do with them? Like, what's gonna happen here? I'm just waiting for Alkarra to make it known, because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But I think it might end up being a series where we can see their relationship starting to develop and then see what happens after. Because I don't actually know yet either. But I'm glad you like the story and that you wanted it. I sort of structured it so that you would really want to know like what happened, especially at the end, when you know that she does it, but you don't know how.
Right.
Well, it was interesting. I found it interesting because the short story at the end just sort of wove into the other story. So in my memory, like I couldn't tell you where the short story started. Like it just seemed like it was all just woven together.
Yeah. It's the night that they find. Is it the night they find her? Yeah.
I think a little bit early.
The night they find Isadora, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember either. God, I wrote it, right? Seems a little weird. I'm pretty sure it's
but you're so many books ahead.
So I'm curious, Leslie, what did you think of Caroline in book 2 short story? Did you like Caroline?
She was the librarian figure. I loved it, because we got to see her, this kind of angry character that Isadora doesn't seem to understand, and then we got to see her point of view and why she feels the way she does, and it was it was like, as I said, it was like enriched the novel, and you got this kind of character that you didn't think much about that got her own story. So I really loved it.
That's awesome.
And it was such an interesting character, and I thought it was great.
She's super fun. I didn't know what her job was at the Great Library of Berk when I wrote the second book. I didn't write that story till after the second novel was almost finalized. And I when it came out that she was like the rodent catcher, like pest controller, basically, I was like, really? Like,
Well, that's
I
fun.
remember looking at the computer and be like, really? Is that what she does? And then it was like, I didn't expect that, which means I better do it. Like, that's cool. And then it like grew. And then I loved her even more. She just made more sense then. It's like, of course you'd be angry if you were dealing with gremlins and like all the other rats and things that she'd have to deal with. So I'm excited. Some of you may or may not know, we're going to do the Great Library of Berk as a historical collection novel. So you get the origins of the library, which is going to be really fun. We're going to do one for Wild Rose also. And I'm excited about both, but I'm deeply excited about the Great Library of Berk one. So I'm already brainstorming what that's going to look like. So coming soon. Andy, what else you got? Anything? Oh, wait, we have
I've got a lot of stuff.
Hi, Renee.
But...
Welcome to the call.
Relax your mind. Sorry.
Go
Well,
ahead.
I have a big list, so but I'm gonna go like in order for the book.
Okay.
I have a question. It said it didn't seem to require it, at least not for witches without sight. It had something to do with Isadora talking about the magic and having questions about it, and then so I thought, is the magic aware of the witch's difficulties? And because it said something like it catered to, I don't know.
Which magic are you talking about? The Watcher magic?
No, the magic in general. It said without sight, she couldn't give the magic a specific command, nor view the very spot. I think it was when she was transferring the wood from one place to the other.
When Sana was trying to summon.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then it said, but it didn't seem to require it, that she didn't see the place before. And so then it got me thinking, does the magic like have this intuition to what the witches problems, or not problems, but if they have like something, I don't know the word,
like ability,
or if they're lacking a certain have limitations. That's the word. There you go.
There you go. Thanks, Leanne. The author.
You
had not one.
Difficulties or limitations. That's what I wrote.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the word and I couldn't find my notes. So
yeah, so I would say so. So when I was picturing, like, when I was writing that scene specifically, that question came up for me, like, well, how does this magic work for Sana? Does she have to have like exactness to it? Like, what does the spell require? And that specific like summoning spell, it's a very specific incantation that's really very simple and easy. And so while it's not difficult to execute, it also is a little more intuitive in use. So for that specific spell, I didn't see the magic needing like the exact visible location, because the magic itself like understood her locationing to summon. Like Isadora summoning a teapot like isn't there with the teapot and it comes to her hand. It would be the same way for Sana, right? Like she wants it in front of her. Isadora doesn't have to be like pointing to the exact like inch section of whatever where she wants the teapot to land. So the same would be true of Sana without being able to see it. It's just spatially oriented to her, if that makes sense. Great question. Wow.
Very specific.
Yeah,
It was something I thought about, which is always something that I'm worried over. Like Andy brings out questions, I'm like, oh crap, I haven't thought of that.
But for example, if a person is, for example, like in a chair, like in a wheelchair, and she has to go in a place where there are like a lot of steps, like for, I don't know, like the entrance of a castle or whatever that has a lot of steps. I mean, will the magic place them like really far away, or like in a specific, like, okay, so this might not be the exact place to transport, or because with Sana, I think I remember it was like the way that she felt around the place, and it would transport her there, and she would have to like memorize the feel of the place to be taken there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it was Gilbert that told him, we have to find you a safe place to transport to, you know, so.
Well, but transporting herself is very different than transporting an object, right? So there is an inherent risk in transporting, which is what makes it dangerous. If you are in a wheelchair and you obviously don't want to transport to the middle of a bunch of stairs, then you do have to be very specific and picturing what you want. But Sana wasn't trying to transport every individual log into a very specific place. Like it just landed in a giant heap. And so it didn't have to be as precise for her, but where it's her and her safety involved, she does have to be more precise because it wouldn't necessarily be in that exact spot that she's picturing. Especially and the difference is transporting is a much more finite, intricate, detailed magic versus like the summoning. Like summoning is going to be different because you're pulling something to you, and transporting, I mean, technically she transported the logs. You could say she summoned them, depending on what spell you want her to be using. But when you're transporting yourself, you're taking yourself from one spot into another one where you are not. Where summoning, you're pulling to you. So the summoning is much safer.
I was wondering, Kate, how do you keep track of like how much the characters are supposed to know about the goddesses and the forest and the magic in there? Because I mean, we've read, you know, far ahead and we have a sense of it, but I'm never sure where like Isidore and Sana are in their knowledge of the magic of the forest and De Silva and all that.
I think some of that is innate. Like I know my characters and where I want them going and what they know, but a lot of that is just engaging with previously written content, or I have an editing team that helps me look at it a different way and question. Like their job is to question everything, kind of like Andy. Like, how does this spell work? Does this work okay? They're always poking holes in everything because that's what I hire them for, so that we can have a double and triple check to make sure that the world is complete and makes sense, and I'm not contradicting myself in places, which has happened, right? Like the books aren't perfect. There's some things that I'm like, dang it, I forgot about that. But mostly I'm really careful about rules, right? Like if I set a rule in one book, I have to uphold it in another book, or I have to have a reason it's broken. When it comes to where characters are and their knowledge of specific things or whatever, most of that is just in my head, and I just try and make sure it's consistent. A lot of the time, a lot of my writing, if you've ever done live writing with Katie, a lot of my writing time is going back into old manuscripts and just searching for phrases so I can look through and see what I've previously written, like, oh, what did I write about this? And kind of going through, so it just takes time. Anything else, Andy?
I want to give someone else a chance, but
Okay.
one last before I forget, because this wasn't really bothered me. Why did you name Ronald's sister Mabel? Or how do
Maybell?
Maybell, yeah.
Why did you not like it?
No, it was like, yeah, we already know that's a cursed name. Come on.
Wait, why is that a cursed name?
I mean,
because you had to say with
she's
some
a martyr
M's.
here. She's
You
not
had
a
to say with
witch.
some M's, Andy.
Don't you know the Katie Cross curse of M's?
Yes, but there's so many.
I know. I'm subconsciously attracted to M names, and I don't even realize it when it's happening.
Michelle.
Michelle,
Miriam,
Eric, Mabel, Mildred, Martin.
May.
Yeah.
May.
I don't know. It just bugged me. I don't know
on.
why it bugged me, but it was like.
That's okay. The nickname Sprite drives my editor Kaylee absolutely crazy, but too late. Books in. That's okay,
funny.
Andy.
I
You
love
don't have to like it.
Sprite.
I know, I think Sprite's cute. She was a little happier with it once I like linked it to Sun Sprite, but then she's still like, I still hate this name. Like every manuscript, I'm like, I accept it. You don't have to like everything I do. Anyone else have anything they have to talk about or just want to talk about happen in the book?
Okay. Now I made the comment on the spoiler page.
But, I know I saw it.
But I was reading as I was walking around my building, and Ronald was like Norman Bates crazy.
You guys,
I was just like, oh
creepy.
my God, he's Norman Bates.
He is definitely one of my more disturbing bad guys, right? Like,
yeah.
But you don't know it until you know it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I put on. I put on one of the Facebook things. It's intriguing because what do you say? I mean, it was like, okay, he's completely insane.
Yeah, and you find out at that point where you're like, oh, like it's way too late for you to like fix this. This is bad. What were your thoughts before you found out the big reveal on Ronald that he actually had like become his sister to deal with what he saw? Were you guys already suspicious that something else was going on, or did he seem like just a normal
I
bad
felt
guy?
like you gave hints at it. I felt like you were teasing us with it and sort of going, "Come on, work it out, guys. Come on,
Yeah.
come this way, come this
Yeah.
way." Like, and it's, that's what it felt like. It felt like you were just pulling us just enough, but going, "But I'm not telling you yet. But maybe this is happening," and that's how it felt. So it felt like, is she doing that? Is she doing that on purpose to me? Like, am I reading this and going,
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Especially then you think back, oh, all right, he was talking to himself when Max was, invisible and listening. I was like, oh, he really is Norman Bates crazy.
Then you see it, right? Like
yeah,
It was like-
yeah. Then it all kind of clicked, and it was just like, oh,
Yeah,
as
I
soon as
wondered-
that little
Reading?
girl walked in there, I just went, there's something odd going, and it's just,
I was like, was she dead? Didn't it say that she died? I
yeah.
went back and
it was
reread it. I
over
was
the
like,
book that
okay,
she was
so
dead, and that's when you were
dead.
going, oh,
So, was it?
but
But-
so, but yeah, once it clicked though, you were like, oh, yeah.
Did you guys suspect it before, like, Maybelle like helped her escape and they were like in the closet together and then she starts becoming Ronald? Did you guys kind of suspect it, or were you still kind of on that something is not right?
Oh
It
no,
was
no.
more
When
than
she
something is
started
not
right.
changing, I was like, oh,
She went there.
look.
because
Now,
I thought
and I'm
he might
sure
be in,
everybody in the other office building was like, why is she like freaking out in the parking lot while she's walking? Because I was like very verbal about it as well. I was like,
Oh, I love it.
Well, Garrett
going,
told us
"They
earlier
think
he'd
I'm
prefer not to be crying in one of his stores when he's delivering.
He's like, I might have been tearing up in some stores where I was loading some coke. It's really awkward.
well, look, no. I had to run. I was walking earlier with the kitchen scene, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop right now because I know she's not gonna write what she's gonna write.
Oh, like when
And then I
Isadora's
was like,
taken? Like the kitchen
huh?
scene when she's taken?
No. When Rolf, I was like, no. It was one of those. I'm gonna slam it down and go, no, just no. I am not gonna
That
read
author.
what I'm gonna read. And then I was like, all right, I'm in the middle of the parking lot. I need to get back in the office before I start ugly crying. So, because I knew it was coming.
You like
And
you
I
know
get
someone had
way
to
too
die.
into my
right?
characters, and I was just like, oh.
Katie's on a spill with killing people.
I was. We'll just call her. Who is it? R.R. Martin.
Where's
Don't
R.R.
get too
Martin?
close. Yeah, don't get too close to some of the characters because they ain't gonna be around long enough.
Especially Rolf. Right? Wait, Leslie, were you gonna say something?
Well, I kind of two things. I thought you did a good job hinting at that. Like, what I guess it was when Isadora has the person visiting and Ralph seems to suspect something's a little strange. There's transformation. There's some kind of transformation magic here.
Yeah.
And I think you did a really good job kind of hinting it. There's something
Yeah.
kind of fishy going on here, but we
Yeah.
will find out later. And I mean, the thing I was wondering about before was if Maybelle, we're supposed to understand her as almost like a multiple personality kind of thing, where this personality overtakes Ronald at some point. And then, because it was weird that I mean, we know he's a master of transformation magic. So I don't know if he's transforming herself into her, or if he's just like it's like an alternate personality. Like someone who's schizophrenic has multiple voices in their head. But that's how I was at least explaining it to myself.
You got to explain it somehow, right? No, that's exactly how I saw it. For me, it was like, it was so painful and traumatic. So really with multiple personality disorder, you get it with, especially people in severe trauma and repetitive severe trauma, they start like splintering basically because it's too much for one person to take, so they become someone else, right? And so sometimes I learned this as a nurse, like in my psychiatric unit. So sometimes when someone has like repeated trauma, like childhood abuse or that kind of thing, they will revert to these different personalities at different times because that personality can take it, this other one can't. There's just been too much, right? So what I saw for Ronald was really, you know, he saw his mom, his sister, he's almost killed himself, he had to kill his dad, and that was just so much for him to take at that age. That, and the guilt that he couldn't save Maybelle was so great that he ended up just keeping her with him, so to speak. And then as he continued to develop and grow, like through his adolescent phase, he ends up just taking her on more and more. So maybe he would just talk to her at first, and then it just sort of developed where he actually became her, because then she's still alive and he didn't fail her, and he ends up transforming into her. But she's really precocious, right? Like she'd like do stuff to get in trouble and he'd get so mad at her. But sometimes that transformation wouldn't always come across completely. So there'd be moments where, you know, he wouldn't transform into Maybelle all the way because he was somewhat aware that he was in situations he couldn't do that, but he couldn't stop her because that other personality ends up developing so much power. So that was kind of how I saw it happening with Ronald. And that like was a huge surprise for me. I had written book 2 before I figured out what was happening in book 3. Like I didn't know when I wrote book 2 initially that that's what happened with Ronald. So I don't know if you guys remember, I said I had to rewrite book 2. Was it book 2 I had to rewrite like 30,000 on or something? A lot of that, like I had to rewrite that. I had just developed book 3 and I'd realized not only did I need to amp up Max's angle, but oh, I have to get ready for Ronald to be this person actually. So I didn't change a ton about Ronald in book 2, but I did make it so that it would be easily believed, right? Like you saw this like great guy in book 2, he's suspicious, but you don't see the breakdown until 3 when the pressure's mounting, he's getting what he wants, he's stressed, he's about to finish, and then he literally just breaks and then becomes Maybelle and loses the oh my gosh, the society or whatever he built up. So it all just sort of crumbles then. Were you saying something?
You did a great job explaining why he hates Watchers as well. I mean, that thread is much clearer in book 3.
Much more full circle that way, yeah. Because there has to be a reason, you know, like there has to be a reason he hates them. Yeah, that book was a trip to write. And it moves fast. Book 3 moves really fast too, because it just covers so much. I was sad we couldn't dive more. I had a lot of ideas for what Faye and Isadora did to like fight back for Watchers. Like I had all of these rallies I wanted to show you guys, but there just wasn't time. You know, I was like, we can always do them as short stories later, but the story had to move on. Anyone else?
So,
any thoughts? Go ahead, Dana.
I have a question. Sorry, Karen, were you going to say something? Oh, okay. So I'm terrible with names in real life, so I'm terrible with names in books too. So the woman who is beholden to men, and lives in Ashley Covens that Max went and
oh yes,
made a deal with. Like you never wrap that up.
Oh, right, where he like actually pays for her house and stuff.
Yeah.
Catherine?
Yeah, you're right.
Katerina.
Yeah, Katerina.
I was like, it's a C. I was trying to remember it myself. I haven't entirely decided if Katerina's wrapped up.
Oh, okay.
But you're right. That was one thread that we didn't actually close. Like I was gonna show Max like turning the deed over or talking to Isadora about it, but it was one thread that I had been pondering over and then ended up just dropping. So yeah, good find. But I don't know if we're done with Katerina.
That was a nice sorry. That was a nice parallel with Santa's house at the end, though. You get, you know, like the two kind of were nice bookends to each other.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. Were you guys satisfied with how Sana ended?
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Wild.
So now I'm curious, when we meet Sana and Isadora in Miss Mabel's School for Girls, they're living nearish each other in Leadham Wood. and Sana has all these teacups and things, and saucers, but do they, and by the way, you're impressed that I remember those details because that was a lot of books ago. But
It's Isadora. Isadora has
Isadora.
Yeah.
Isadora has
yeah,
the-
Isadora has all
Yeah.
the teacups
Yeah.
and stuff. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
But I'm picturing Isadora as saying the wrong name. See, names.
You're fine. It's fine. We all knew who
Anyway, so is it the same house? Like,
Kim asked this question earlier, right? Wasn't it you, Kim?
Yep.
So no, it's not the same house. You will find out probably, I mean, for sure by the end of the series, it will all make sense. But the house that Sana is in now is not the same house that she's in the network series.
okay. Yeah, because Max isn't around, so somehow you're going to kill off Max, and we're all going to just die a
Yes.
painful, sad death.
Ludius
But
is gone too.
I was gonna say she's gonna have to kill Ludius off, Max off.
what?
So
Katie.
What are you spoiling the future books too?
well, everyone knows that Ludius and Max are gone in the network series. I mean, the Sister Witches are like 120 years old. Like they're super old. Who's this? Someone. Anyway, so all will be answered, and you are going to have to survive Max and Ludius's death. But some trust can be granted here. Right? I know who to kill and when. So everything's gonna be fine. I mean, it will be horribly sad. I already know how they both happen. I know when. I'm not super clear on Ludius. I have ideas. But yeah, the Sister Witches that you know in the network series are the same, but they're different than the ones you know now. Also because after this book, the timeline changes a bit. So we've had about a span of like 2-ish years for these first 3 books, because I was trying to really establish Sana losing her sight, where Isadora's life is, world, so that everything that followed made more sense. So from here on out, all of the books are anywhere from 5 to 7 years apart. So it won't have like this trilogy feel where we kind of wrapped all that stuff up. Now each one is going to feel more like a standalone. And of course they flow together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It flows together.
Yeah. So Kim and Lila and Debbie have finished proofreading book 4. So there is flow between book 3 and 4, right? But it is its own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't feel like there's this massive jump. Like, you know, it doesn't feel disconnected at all.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not saying too much.
Yeah.
Put the tape on, Lila. That's why I said a little bit earlier today.
Yeah, so you'll see more time like kind of start moving. So at the end of in book 4, they're late 20s. In book 5, they're mid 30s. Book 6, they're late 30s, early 40s. You know, just kind of keeps growing that way. So that by the time we get to book 10, book 10 is actually ending where Mildred's picks up. So we're not ending at the network series, we're ending at Mildred's, like around that time frame, which is really fun because you get this like insider view of what Isadora is seeing happening in the network as Mildred is starting to come into the picture. And Mildred's only like 5 when the book starts, right? So it's this really cool thing. I'm so excited. It's so much freaking work, like figuring out Donovan was high priest at this time, which means he had to be born here, which means he had to be council member by this time. And like I have to like figure out everything because these people that appear in Mildred's Resistance have to come into the later Sister Witches books because they have to like blend together. So it's this like feat of magic to like get them to blend. Anyway,
do you have like flow charts?
I do. It is
flow charts, or are they all just in your head?
Let me.
Oh, no.
No. Let me show you exactly what I got. I can't even see my own screen. Come on, there we go. I just closed it. Here we go. Here is my world building spreadsheet. It's so big it can't open offline. So I have all my characters and this information organized alphabetically by first name. Not all of my previous books are on here. I started doing this with the Swordmaker and the Advocate, and there is some, like Mildred's is half entered, Flame is half entered as I need the timeline, but then I have this ginormous timeline. These are all like individual chapters in the Swordmaker. These are like birth dates for certain people on certain years, certain days. So you can see like when all these people are born, and then this is every chapter of the Advocate, like their ages, what's happening, what day it is, like what season. So it goes all the way through all of the Sisterwitches books right here. So just a bunch of different stuff. So that's how I keep track of it. It's a beast. So anytime I introduce a new character, I just go right to the spreadsheet and put their information in, then I can look it up later. And then as I do the second draft of the book, I just fill the timeline out because I'm solidifying all the scenes. So that's how I keep track of it. It's pretty wild. Great questions.
A lot more work than an author who just writes one-offs.
Yes, it is a lot more work, but way better, right? Because it's going to be so exciting when you start hearing about Donovan and you know he's going to be the worst high priest ever. And then like in Mildred's Resistance, or like you already have Isadora and Mildred's interview in Mildred's Resistance. Like you already know their interview together. But I have already in my head scenes where Sana and Isadora are talking about Mildred as Isadora sees her, because Isadora's magic will be changing, right? She has very specific skills right now, but she doesn't need all the skills that she has right now later. So like you'll just see Isadora and Sana grow into who they are, and it's just really fun. So one-offs can't give you that. And so this intricate like knowledge of character is just chocolate cake. You just want to eat it.
My husband thinks I'm a nut job.
What'd you say?
My husband thinks I'm a nut job. He gracefully accepts it, but I'm like, oh well, Katie and Alkarra and blah 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 blah, and he's just like, what, who, where,
you?
Yeah.
I've learned to talk to myself because my husband is when I'm talking out loud. So I'm in the shower talking to myself, and I was like, oh, very Ronald-like. Answering myself.
There are moments
admit to that, Andy.
Yeah. Now we're all
I got in a fight with my niece last week, with 3 of my nieces. And I thought of telling them, look, guys, in my mind, I am this psychopath. And just because your grandmother raised me with, like a big fortitude, is that the virtue?
Fortitude.
And I have it like really, you are not dead and in a ditch somewhere where they will never find you, because
the crazy eyes.
Oh, yeah. Not just the eyes. I have crazy eyes, crazy hair, crazy movements. So yeah.
Well, Andy, I will come to you if I ever need help. Yes,
you may.
I'm curious what you guys thought of. We didn't talk about this at Coffee with Katie. What did you guys think about Max in this book?
He's so vulnerable.
Yeah,
he really is. Just like realizes what Isadora is to him, right? Like how much she means to him.
Yeah.
Forced to like reckon with losing her. What did you think of Charlie showing up for Max?
I thought
he's like they're the only brothers.
Yeah. Like
he really kept that from the beginning, because at the beginning he said that he felt like he was his brother, even though he was some random stranger, and that he knew that this was his soulmate and this was his brother, and he really has kept that in his heart, and I like that, because that's one of the things that makes him him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a very defining characteristic for him, for sure.
But it also, I reckon it really shows something about Maximilian too, when you have a look at that he's accepting of Charlie, you know what I mean? Like, have a look at him as a character compared to all the other people in his life, yet he's just so in his way vulnerable with Charlie, you know, like the most he is with other people until Isadora came along.
Well, and it's great what happens in this book because of the growth that Max had in the previous book, right? Like in the second book, he had a really hard time letting go and trusting that Isadora would be safe and she could take care of herself and, you know, like all that kind of stuff. Am I getting my books mixed up?
No,
Okay.
No, you're right.
no.
I said this earlier, but we're talking about book 3. We're launching book 4. Editors just finished book 5 and I'm writing book 6. So like they're all in my head right now. So I want to make sure I'm not, you know. Plus I had to rewrite 2 because I had stuff from 3 and 2. Anyway, I loved Max's like growth and development, and especially how he is letting, like not letting, because I don't think Max and Isadora have this like power dynamic where he lets her do things, but he is supporting her as she's kind of standing up for Watchers, and it's hard for him, right? Because he wants to like protect her and keep her safe, but eventually she like has to kind of go out in the world. What did you guys think of Teddy?
But I do like the way you kind of balance it out, that both him and Isadora, you know, sometimes it's like, really, just speak, like, just, you know, stop trying to guesswork, just say it, you know. And you do it for both, and that's actually one of, I mean, sorry, I know I interrupted, you can ask a question, but that is one of the things that of that book, that was the one and the only one that I've actually had to put down a few times, and it was only because of all those people who kept, after everything that had happened, and there's still people going on about like, oh, she's too powerful and Isadora and nobody should have that sort of power, and I'm just going, oh, come on, people, like, where do you draw the line? You know, where do you draw the line? Just because they've got more power than you doesn't mean they're going to abuse it, when you've got people like, hello, Mr. Crazy Man.
I know, don't you love that irony?
He's as powerful, and look at what he's doing. But no, we won't look at that. We'll pick on this wonderful person trying to live her life, you know. And so that's the sort of thing. And I just wanted to do terrible things to them. Oh my goodness, I wanted to do terrible things to them. And that's why I had to put the book down, because I just went, oh, I don't like who I'm becoming here, because all the things I want to do to you right now, nope, I have to put that down. I have to put that down. I'm just, Katie, you're doing too good a job of making me want to do terrible things to these people.
Now that is good fiction. What were you saying?
She told me that on our thread.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leslie.
I was going to follow up on your Max question. I love how you like softened him, and lots of characters say, "Well, Isadora's had a good effect." You know, you give in more than you would in the past, so we get a sense of you know, Max has grown, and you know his ability to say that he loves her and saying that to Charlie and feel that and acknowledge that. You know, he's in book 3. He's a kind of a much softer, kind of nicer person than he was before.
I'm glad you said that, because that was extremely intentional, right? Like Max can't always, I mean, he's a curmudgeon. He'll always be a curmudgeon. That's just Max, right? He wouldn't be Max without it. But really, Isadora's influence is going to have a powerful effect on him. And it was important that there were ways to kind of show and display that in like a realistic, not like overly snappy, not Maximilian way. And that continues as the books move on. So in book 6, he's 48, and it's taken me a bit of wall staring to figure out 48-year-old Max, right? Like, what's he like at this stage? You know, like I've had to like really sit with it and kind of like piece this out, so that like that growth and change and sculpting kind of keeps happening within the character.
So do they have kids? Are you going to spoil it? Do they have kids?
No.
You're going to have to read on.
So Teddy is that little guy in the background that sneaks up on you, and he's coming back.
The child question, Dana, will be answered like within the next couple months. Yes, Teddy yes, Teddy is coming back.
There's more to him than you think.
I for a moment thought when the hero started appearing, I thought if maybe Teddy was hero, and then the whole nut job thing came out in the short story. I was like, oh no, this is happening.
Teddy is hero. That could have been fun. Huh. I wonder if I could have pulled that off. Yeah, Hero is nasty. Hero is really nasty. That whole thing took a bit to write.
Teddy's really nasty.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you guys are.
We'll just leave it at that.
I said this earlier. If you guys
I enjoyed the
at the end. At the end, like the big surprise. Is that what you mean? Oh, that she destroyed part of Chatham City. Is that
well, it's just like there and just blew him up. And he wasn't you didn't have to worry about him being it was satisfying.
Yeah,
I had a lot of pent up stuff, so it was very satisfying. It was like release. Yes.
And there are people that have not read this extra short story because you only get it if you buy it from me, right?
Yeah.
So that short story is extra good. That's a really extra good one. I'm glad you guys liked it.
I love them all. I love all the short stories on all of them.
So I wanted to give you guys like an extra bonus from buying from my website, but I've had some people complain that there's just too many books and they're too confused. Like the novellas with the network saga was just kind of confusing and hard, and I totally get that. And I agree it wasn't ideal. So I was like, why don't we just give them an extra short story at the end of every book, and then I can develop the short story with the book, and it's turned out really fun. So if you guys continue to like it, we'll just keep doing it.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
That's really
I vote for yes, keep it like that.
And you get a short story at the beginning of the next one.
Yeah, so the beginning, the short story for book 4 is Death of a High Priest.
Debbie's laughing.
You guys. And that's not a spoiler because Charlie and Max are talking when they walk back to Wild Rose, and Charlie is saying Charles is gonna die. And it's all very funny. And so I decided to write that as a bonus story. And then I put it at the front of the book because it'll just kind of make it flow better. If you don't read the short story, because some people won't who buy off the retailers, it'll still all make sense, but you'll just really miss out. And I asked this earlier, but I have to ask it again. Was it absurdly satisfying the way Charlie died? Or Charles died? Did you feel like that's exactly how Charles would have died?
Yeah. That's how he would have died.
It was par for him.
I was giggling already. I just went, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go.
So you're sitting there because Max is just like annoyed at it. So it's
like, this is absurd.
It is so great. So I made this promise because you guys came to book club and people come to CWK. Next Friday should be next Friday. Next week is going to be bananas. We won't be having any calls next week because I have a publishing company that's flying me to Kansas City to do some presentations, and then I have MizCon here in my hometown where I have a table, so it's just gonna be bananas. I leave Monday, get back late Thursday, start Friday, and I'm done Monday. But we should have Sister Witches book 4 completely done in production for ebook. The audiobook will be going tomorrow to the salon to get beautified. So by next Friday, I should have both the ebook and the audiobook finalized and ready to go. Since you guys came, you can have it a week early. So just send me an email if you're interested in it, copy, so you can read it a week early.
Debbie does not like
it. I know Debbie doesn't like it, but you guys get perks for coming.
Well, you may not want to be reading this one in the car park.
What'd you say, Lila?
Don't read this one in the car park.
Yeah.
Okay.
And have your box of Kleenexes ready.
There's some
great, so I can't listen to it at work.
We told you, Garrett. Just don't listen to the first 2-ish hours.
Fair enough.
There's a big sad thing. There's a big sad thing. And I've been like a little nervous about this one.
Sadder than Rolf dying?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm
guessing be prepared
for one of the main.
She's not gonna do that. She's not gonna do it. She did it.
Yeah, this is a rough one. There's gonna be a little of that in all the next books.
As expected, because like you said, they're going to be so many years happening. It's going to happen.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah, we know sad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
We just
There's a bright spot,
and it's a baby dragon.
Yeah.
Katie
Well, it's in
You
the
know,
book description now. Like I have
dragon is so he's so beautiful, and that's what I mean.
And
Like
the
this
t-shirt.
crying's not just about sad things. Crying's about beautiful
No.
things too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Leanne knows that.
Oh yeah, no. I cried at when Max and Isadora got together the first time in the first set of books. I told Katie, I said, you made me cry, so it's a good book. So.
Well, stick around, sister.
Yep.
That's how my kids decide whether or not a gift is good, is who makes mom cry.
We did that with grandma. Like if grandma cried, we nailed it. So the baby dragon, like if you go to my website, it talks about baby dragons in the description, and we have that t-shirt, love, support, and baby dragons.
Right.
But I will say this because it's not really a spoiler. The baby dragon is the blue dragon from the network series. So in Alkarra Awakening, when Bianca, there's a poacher about to shoot the dragon, Bianca like stops him. This blue dragon is the baby, and his name is Karis. And so it's an amalgamation of the parent names.
So that gives you another little clue.
Yeah. So Karis is adorable and amazing, and he's been so fun, like, to get to know. So you'll get
he loves Sana.
And by extension,
and Katie's not right. There's more than one crying scene, so
Yeah,
I think we should talk about how funny Ludius is.
Yes,
and
there is more. Yes,
Do you cry when you write them?
No, I'm not a big crier. I think there's.
No, I do enough for everyone.
I think one of the only scenes that moved me to like misty eyes was the Forgotten Gods at the in between, like that one. That got me. That one I felt super deeply. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? That one got me really deeply. These I didn't, but I was explaining this earlier too. So there's like, all of you just collectively live in my head as this CWKites, and so I'll be writing a book and I'm like, oh my gosh, what would they say, like a book club, like what would CWK say about this? So I think of like all of you collectively and then make decisions about the book. And there are times when I'm writing these books that I just like shiver because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like I just get so excited. I just did that today on a scene in book 6. I was like, my first thought was, Carol's gonna die. like because she's gonna love this like one scene so much, right? Like, or I'll have a moment where I'm like, Lila's totally pointing this out. Like I'll just think of you guys, and when I think about you and how I think you'll respond to the books, like there's always a point where like Andy's gonna question me on this, so I gotta figure it out. So I'll have like you in my head, right? So I'll make these decisions based on the CWK people in my head. That gets me super excited. And there'll be moments where I'm like, they're gonna bawl. Like all of them are gonna cry. Like this could be a hard one. There's definitely that in 6. 6 is like 6 is a whopper. It's a whopper. But again, I ask you to trust me.
I love on this one. I love also like the little hints between Jesse and Sana. Like those when she's I'd share anything with you or everything with you, or when she thinks about the people and it's like Isa, Jesse, Mom, Ludius. I'm like, oh, Jesse.
So where do you think Jesse and Sana are going?
I'm not sure, but it's not brother sisterly love. That much I can tell you.
Well, certainly not for Jesse, right?
Yeah, but she's starting to see him,
starting to rely on him more, respect him.
I even, this part got me. It's like, thought Ludius gave her courage and strength, Jesse gave her hope. It's like it's like right there. And before, I think it was on book 2, I don't know who says it, but it was something like Jesse is the human version of Ludius.
Yeah.
And we know she loves Ludius. So that love's kind of just going there and growing. And
but you know what I love about that as well? I love that when she needed the support and he stayed with her, that he could stay with her, and there didn't have to be any,
Yeah.
whatever.
No
And,
shenanigans.
Thank you. And so and it was just beautiful. Like there was it really, I found that really, really lovely and rich and touching, and so it wasn't all just straight away about that kind of love. Like there's so many kinds of love, and I loved that you actually did that. Like you didn't turn it into that scene could have been so many things, but you didn't turn it into that. You just turned it into this really beautiful, tender, where someone was there supporting the other, and it didn't matter whether they were boy or girl. They were just supporting.
No, he's not.
Garrett, I was just about to
get out of there.
Garrett, please state your opinion, because I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Dude, you have no idea.
Exactly, Garrett.
A
He
woman's
is
heart
totally
can
in the friend
change,
zone.
but a woman's heart can change. Ask my husband. He was friend zoned at the beginning when we met. Yeah. And he was like,
Yeah, my honey was friend zoned too.
And now we have two beautiful kids, so things can
I
change.
don't know. I agree with Garrett that at this point in time he is in the friend zone.
Yeah.
He can move out of there.
New T-shirt. Friend zone.
Friend zone. You know what I'll do? I'll put friend zone and I'll have sauna within the same box.
And the only reason I'm not wearing my Elis Lives t-shirt is because it still hasn't arrived yet, but it will. It's in the post.
Okay.
Lila, are you a Elis Lives person?
Me, Garrett, Elis Lives all the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think she was a founder.
Debbie, I guess it's just me and you.
No,
Elis Lives.
I'm Elis died. I'm team Elis died.
Oh yeah,
my
Katie's
girl.
all about the dies, and I'm just there.
You can't.
Katie.
That's unfair. That's
But
unfair,
I would like to point out, we might be small, but I'm probably the most influential one here. So
I was gonna say that's not fair, Katie.
I'm like, if you want someone to be on your side, Kim, it's me. But to be equally fair, I am not in charge.
Garrett and I we do have a precedence that you have done it before. So we're like, we can say, we can find.
That comes with the caveat that I am not in charge. And there might, I admit, come a day when I'm writing the Network Saga 5 through 8, and I'm like, damn it, they were right. Because Elis, but honestly, in my brain, Elis
and you understand.
Life. He sacrificed his life.
You understand if that ever happens, Katie, that it's going to be like the biggest party
I know
going on, and the biggest I told you so.
I will lose Debbie forever. Are you guys, Leslie and Dana, are you guys aware of the Elis lived, Elis died debate?
I'm aware of it, but I don't know.
Okay, so in War of the Gods, Elis and Rebus are the forest dragons that kind of come to help in the final fight, right? And there's a scene, Elis, like towards the end, right before Bianca takes off running and draws Tontus away, there's a scene where Elis is falling from the sky because his wings are injured, and he's like falling and his fire is spiraling down and he crashes. That's Elis. He died. But Garrett and Lila and several others are convinced that he's still alive, because I don't think it's ever said Elis died. It's just very.
I did not see the body.
Like his wings are ripped, and he's like spiraling down, shooting his secundum in his dying throes, right? Like he's just trying to kill everything he can. But then they're like, "You never killed him officially," and we looked, and it never actually says Elis died, right? So they are on this like rampage that Elis is actually alive. I was like, you guys, Elis was an old dragon. Like he died, and like he was a very old dragon. And they're like, no, no, like he's alive. So I made those t-shirts for them because they talk about it all the time that says Elis lives, but then I made them that say Elis died. So
I've got to order mine.
There's 3 of us on the Elis died, and it's me, Kim, and Debbie.
I thought he died.
Thank you. Now Dana's joining our ring.
Yeah, me too.
Here, we got 5. We got 5.
We've got 5 on
She didn't even know who Elis was before you explained.
I knew Elis was a dragon.
Didn't you hear that she has trouble with names? Now that they explained which dragon it was, now she knows.
Yes, and it's that he died. Anyway, that's the Elis Lives, Elis Died debate that has been ongoing since War of the Gods launched last year. By the way, we have published many, many books since then, and this debate still lives on every night that we get together.
I have two more questions because I see time.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I still have two more things.
Okay,
one, Mr. Holloway. Do we know his age or something? Because he's just so intriguing to me. Dashiell's the guy that's always grunting and
Dashiell. Oh, the clerk,
like accountant.
The clerk.
The clerk for him.
Or whatever. Yeah.
His bookmaker, not bookmaker, that's the wrong word.
The
He keeps
bookkeeper,
his
the
books.
whatever.
What's your question about him?
Because do we know his age or more about him? Because at one point, I don't remember if it was this book or the other book, Isa goes with Sana and she's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna ask her about it. She's gonna tell me more about him. And I kept waiting for that. Okay,
oh, like she's gonna have Isadora describe what the office looked like, or what Mr. Holloway looked like.
And describe Mr. Holloway, yeah.
Yeah, we don't don't know any more about him. He never pops back up.
Okay, because then I thought there's a lot of tension here. Is this guy competing with Jessie? No, I don't like this guy.
He secretly loves Sana, so he acts like he hates her.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like that with Bailey and Noah, and then she goes like, and his hand fell away, and I missed his touch, and I was like, oh, you're done for. Da, 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 da. So I'm very curious about this guy. And then the dungeon, I wrote like a big note here because assuming the dungeons have spells that prevent from magic, or are the rocks where they were carved imbued with something that suppresses magic, or is it a spell that they cast and it can be a chair or
Yeah, so there is a spell that exists in Alkarra that you can like cast on something and it would suppress magic in use there. So like in that specific dungeon, it was the stones that created the dungeon that had that enchantment that prevented magic from being used. But like the cloak that is
tea also.
Yeah.
Didn't the tea also suppress the magic?
Yeah.
Yes, Anna had Veritas, right? So it works.
Yeah.
So they were like slamming her with it so they could move her around to kind of deceive her. So yes, there's several ways to be able to like lower that magical threshold so they can't use it or whatever. But this specific spell, they also have used at Chatham Castle in their dungeons, like the one that Mabel was in, the cell that Mabel was in had the same thing. And I see it individually, like in what creates the cell.
And does it have to be like a specific, like a protector that casts the spell, or a high priest or a high priestess, or can anyone basically just?
I think anyone competent within the grimoire that spell comes from, right? So they would have to be practiced with that spell and that magic and competent in it.
Okay, Sarah. Oh, well, I said that wrong, didn't I?
You're talking about the magic? That's book 4.
No, as in the island.
Carceri.
Yes, Carceri. Thank you. I'm just going. I'm saying that wrong. What's wrong with my tongue? But yeah, that's because they have a lot of that there.
Yes, they do have a lot of that. That one I see differently. But I can't explain in words why. You know what needs a book? Carceri. Carceri needs a book. That'd be cool.
Ooh, that would be
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be pretty intense.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, Leon, that'd be woo.
We're going
Do I
dark
get
now.
something blown up at the end?
Or Valenborg.
We're doing Valenborg.
That's the one.
Valenborg,
we're doing Valenborg. Yep, we're doing Valenborg. And book 4 ties into Valenborg, right? Okay. Book 4? Okay. That's right. It's all coming back to me. Anyone else have any questions?
I had a question, Katie. It was kind of follow up of your Jessie Sana, because in dragon literature, sometimes the human and the bonded dragon, the human can't have a romantic partner, whereas in your books you kind of allow that. And so I was wondering how you understand the partnership between the dragon and the human, and then the human and the human lover kind of thing. I mean, how that makes sense to you, and what's the role of the bond between the dragon and its rider in kind of your world?
That's so interesting you ask that. It's really astute because for the last 3 months, I've been asking the question, what equivalent is there for the Sana-Ludius bond? Like, it's not romantic, right? But it's not like sibling either. I think the closest approximation would be sibling in that, like, it's a non-romantic attachment, but can still be very deep, but it's like beyond best friend. like I've just really like struggled, like,
It's soulful, isn't it? Is it soulful? It's
So-
kind of not physical, you know.
interesting
It's,
you
I
say
don't know
that.
what I mean.
So, how do I say this?
No.
Well, I'm trying
Well,
not to spoil.
And
trying
you'll
not-
also you'll also see another side of Ludius in book 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. With Sana and Ludus, Sana classifies it in upcoming books as like soulship, where it's not like friendship. Like to her, it's more like as they grow too, especially as they grow, like, and as time passes and they continue to stay so close, they're even more blended, right? Like it's that inextricable, you can't take them away now because they're just too close together. So really, I think a lot of fantasy readers see the dragon and dragon rider bond as like its own category and classification. It's like, well, they're dragon and dragon rider, and it just makes sense then that there's a certain like friendship there, like with Aragon, right? Like they meet, they bond, they talk to each other, they grow together. You see that a lot in the dragon rider. So I think I've just landed on, in my brain, because Sana said it, like soulship, and you see it more, especially like in book 6, you get opportunity to see that more in a very stark way. That it's the only way I can describe it, because it's just beyond friendship, it's beyond siblings, it's not romantic, obviously, and it's something Sana's gonna really have to work through, right? Because it changes the way she sees witches and the world, and it is going to be an issue for her in later books because of that. Like she leans so much into Ludius that how do you even interact with witches, you know? I mean, who blames her? Like, if I had a freaking dragon, I'd be like, who needs friends? Like, I have my own dragon, right? Like, so yeah, that's a very astute question, because I've only recently been able to like sort of quantify it in a way that feels satisfying with what they have, because they're just so close, and it's not what we have here. So I hope that helped. Probably didn't answer anything.
If Carol was here, she'd be saying the same thing. Soulful.
Yeah,
Soulful.
it's just something. It's just something else, I guess.
And then you added in Ludius and Kara.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Like Ludius is all interested in Kara, right? So then, and they're trying to like learn that too. Like, so we're like, there's Sana and Ludius always, but then what does that mean in books 1 through 3, where they're like, oh, we can live apart, and it's so he can have a life, he can go be with Kara, and I can go be here, and this is okay. Like they have to kind of figure that out, and that's a constantly moving thing, because then you get baby dragon, and that means something else, right? So where does Sana go there? Because baby dragon, you know.
But they did kind of explain. I don't remember who it was that asked her. I think it was Isa that asked her, because she said in a very annoyed tone that Ludius was spending more time with Kara. You know, and she asked her what was going on, and he was, you know, it was a very similar question, like, is there a romantic thing? And it's like, yeah, dragons are not romantic. And she's like, they're not romantic. Oh no, you're not a dragon. And he's not being friend zoned. Jesse's not being friend zoned forever. Believe me.
Is it in book 3 when Ludius and Sana have the conversation about like romance? It is right? It's not 4.
Yeah.
Well, somewhat in 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Ludius
I
is
think
trying to figure out what romance is. Yeah.
She's been kind of avoiding the topic, and they've danced around it, but they haven't really come to discuss it.
I like how in book 3 you started the whole witchy way stuff, like you were sort of started using that like Ludius using that terminology of going your witchy ways, you know, like because they think everything's different, you know. It's not just the relationships and stuff, it's how they view everything. So that's a really great thing to play on too, because I love how it broadens the view of you know, what can happen just in social situations, let alone in species, you know.
Yes, yeah, it is fun, and it's an ever-evolving target, because there are other milestones and things Sana achieves that Ludius doesn't understand that she like needs, like with his how, like your witchy dwelling, like he's like, well, you need this, you know, and then as Sana is growing and things are changing and moving, then he has further questions. And it helps that he was like so isolated the first 50 years of his life, like there's a lot he didn't, you know. So yeah, fun stuff.
And she was too. They both were, really.
They're suitable.
So now they're both thrown into this wide world of going, oh, what is all this stuff?
It's pretty epic for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna close out